Welcome back, guys, to a brand new video. It's Friday night here in Australia. It's supposed to be beer o'clock, but I'm back in the shed because, would you believe it, my package has arrived this afternoon and I'm super excited to get it unboxed and have a look what's inside. It's an upgrade to my lathe that's just behind there. It's a part that's gonna make it so much more efficient to use, and I'm super excited to get it installed. So let's go over to the table. I'll show you what's in the box and let's get to fitting it to the lathe. Alright guys, so here in front of me is VEVOR's Quick Change Tool Post Kit. This is the 8-piece kit that you can buy on their website, or at least I could buy on vevor.com.au here in Australia. I'm not really sure exactly what each one of these actually do, but I know that it's going to make my lathe work way more efficient, so I'm super excited to get this installed on my lathe and see how it goes. One thing I did notice that it comes within the kit is a knurling tool. I didn't realize it came with one of those, but that is one of those side press ones, which ultimately aren't very good for your machine because it puts a lot of side load on your spindle bearing, but that's all I've got to use in my setup over there. I do wish to make a scissor style one in the future, so keep an eye out for a video of that sometime soon. I need to take this over to my lathe and see what's involved in getting this installed on it. I've heard that there is a little bit of machining and adaptation that's required. I think it's because of the thread pitch or something to do with how this bolts to my lathe over there. So let's take this tool post over to the lathe and see what's involved in getting it installed. For size comparison, you can clearly see the massive difference between the standard and the one from VEVOR. To start this install, I'll first begin by disassembling the standard tool post from the lathe. Once I remove the handle and lift it off the tool post, I then remove 2 Allen head screws. Under the cross slide, you will need to remove 1 grub screw that prevents rotation of the tool post shaft. Once the grub screw is removed, flip over the cross slide and use a soft face hammer to release the shaft. The base plate that the new tool post came with won't be used. It's at this point you can clearly see the size difference between the standard stud and the supply bolt that came in the kit. The large bolt that came in the kit measures at approximately 15.6 millimeters. Although it was supplied in the kit, the clearances are just too much for proper side-to-side rigidness. Off camera, I took a bunch of measurements that I'll need to create my own bolt. Now it's time to reassemble the cross slide and head over to the lathe to turn down the new bolt for the upgraded tool post. Here on the screen are the dimensions for the bolt I'm about to create. Feel free to pause the video and note it all down if you feel like it will help you with your install of one of these quick change tool posts. Here I'm placing some basic 20mm mild steel round bar into the chuck. This is all I had laying around, but I'm sure it would do the job just fine. I'll start by measuring out 140mm of material, then a quick cleanup of the face to prepare for the center drill. Now that's done, live center time to support the workpiece. The overall dimension doesn't need much material removed. I'll take the diameter down to 18.2mm. Here I'm using a large Sharpie to help mark out the next order of process. The following pass will be getting the dimension down to 16.72mm. This is for the dowel section of the new quick change tool post. Next up is the step down for the M16 thread that will be paired with the nut that came with the tool post. I'll be turning it down to 15.6mm as the nut was slightly undersized. The shaft is now ready for the M16 thread to be cut. I'll be using the sliding die holder that I made in a previous video. With the lathe speed turned down very low, I'll slowly wind the tailstock forward until the die holder automatically feeds itself onto the material. That appears to be a success. Hopefully in the future I'll get some practice with single point threading, but for now, the die has done a great job. Time for a quick cleanup and more machining. This final step down is for the section that will be a tight fit in the lathe's cross slide. The tight fit will ensure there is minimal side to side movement in the new tool post. The 20mm section I just measured is for the lower portion of the new tool post. The tool post has two inner dimensions. The lower part is 18.2mm and the upper portion is 16.72mm. This is coming together really well. I'll now take it over to the vise and use the electric bandsaw to cut off the excess. I'll now face the part and drill out the tip to prepare for an M8 thread. Now that the M8 thread is finished, I'll test fit the screw I intend on using. Once I'm happy with that, it's on to making the base washer that will keep the shaft from coming back out. Here I'm using some 38mm mild steel round bar. The base washer is 25mm in diameter and is 5mm thick. It will also have an 8mm hole that is countersunk. Now it's time to part the washer off. I'm feeling confident and I've decided to give it a crack on the lathe. One last thing to do on the lathe, and that is to part off the excess on the bolt. Once I've done that, it's the exciting moment where you get to see if the hours of recording and machining have paid off. In the background you can see a small spring and detent that was for the original tool post. I did try it on the tool post, but I found it didn't function correctly. I chose to leave it off as it did get in the way when wanting to go backwards when adjusting the tool angle. The fitment is absolutely perfect. One last thing I need to do is to add the grub screw. I've chosen to drill and tap a new thread. Any chance I get to use this drill, I'll take it. The magnetic base helps so much when making sure you're drilling 90 degrees to the part. I have an affiliate link in the description if you'd like to check it out on VEVOR's website. It's time to set the center of the tool and give it a crack. Hopefully now I won't be left with a tiny nub every time I face off the material in the lathe. I wanted to use the ruler trick to center the tool, but I didn't have anything I could clamp in the chuck that had a center point. I did have a dead center, but I didn't feel like removing the chuck to install it. Here you can see my tooling is slightly above the center line. With some simple adjustment on the new tool post, you can see the tool tip come down to the center line. I couldn't believe how easy it was compared to using oily metal covered shims. Now that the tool height is set, I just lock off the upper nut and it's good to go every time I want to use it. No more mucking about with its center height. Time for a quick test to see if I've set the height correctly. Alrighty guys, that is the VEVOR quick change tool post installed on my lathe. It is a Hafco AL320G lathe. It is purchased here in Australia, but I hope this video can be helpful with your journey in trying to get one of these Chinese built quick change tool posts installed on your lathe. It took a bit of stuffing around to get it on there. I had to make my own bolt. I did try to use the original bolt that came with it. Because of side movement, I wasn't able to use the 16mm or 15.75mm bolt that it came with. It was an M16 or slightly smaller, but with the section here that's under the tool post on my lathe, it just wasn't tight enough, and when I tried to use it, it had sideways free play, so I had to make the bolt that you saw in this video. I did have to use a really strong Loctite for the screw that I put in the bottom, because if you don't, when you undo that top nut, it will try to undo itself. I suggest if you follow my procedure, make sure you use the really high strength Loctite. Anyways, thank you so much for sticking around to the end. I really hope that you like this video. Please remember to like, subscribe the video. It goes a long way in helping the channel grow. I'm pushing really hard to get these videos out, and I'm loving every minute of it. So, and until next time, I'll see you in the next one.